In the early 1970s, Toronto residents Ron and Cheryl Wagner moved to a home on Prince Edward Island. The newlyweds, who had recently graduated from university, were flat broke. Cheryl said, quote, "We had a broken down red Volvo, 100 pounds of brown rice, a dog and a cat, a case of tuna, a case of ketchup, and $100. The two searched for work to no avail, until Ron heard that the federal government was offering grants to fund new and creative projects. Ron had a great idea, a touring puppet theater. The two had no puppetry experience, but this did not prevent them from submitting their proposal, which was approved. Ron and Cheryl took their now funded puppet show on the road, touring schools and hospitals throughout Prince Edward Island. The puppets primarily educated children on the human body and medicine. Ron's character, Charlie, had cutaway pieces that displayed the functions of lungs, tear ducts, skin grafts, feeding tubes, and hernias. Cheryl performed in these shows with Ron, although she was a shy performer, too timid to even take a bow after performances. Ron and Cheryl's act soon evolved into the Maritime Clown and Puppet Company, when Ron added a clown character named Happy Trash Picker to the act. Despite initial apprehension, the bashful Cheryl donned a big blue nose and grease paint makeup herself, in order to portray Harry Trash Picker's sister, Slossie. Cheryl was surprised at how much she enjoyed performing as the clown, and it wasn't long until the Wagners were touring thousands of schools and hospitals throughout Canada. Unfortunately, the intense schedule and low pay became too stressful for the couple, who were also simultaneously raising a son and a daughter. Ron and Cheryl separated in 1980, and Cheryl was left with no job and 2 children to care for. As luck would have it, in 1982, a new puppet production was set to film in Toronto, and Cheryl wanted to audition. She drove to the city and auditioned alongside 300 puppeteers for just 10 spots. But Cheryl's talent was evident, and she landed the part. The television show was named Fraggle Rock. Cheryl would puppeteer various characters on the show, as well as voice and puppeteer Ma Gorg. She would also write hand for Cantus and Convincing John, the 2 characters that Jim Henson himself would perform on the show. Cheryl worked for 5 seasons on Fraggle Rock, puppeteering for all 96 episodes of the series. At the time, she also performed on the Canadian children's show Today's Special as the puppet Mrs. Pennypacker.
A Pennypacker tea party is a tea party to the nth degree. A Pennypacker tea party is delightful as can be.
After both series concluded, Wagner would find work on the Canadian television staple Mr. Dressup. While she enjoyed puppeteering, Wagner dreamed of writing for television. She was able to write an episode of another Canadian show, Under the Umbrella Tree, and she was hoping to write more. As 1990 approached, one of her friends, choreographer and fellow clown Grindel Kucherka, asked Cheryl to develop an idea for a show that she could perform in. Wagner began to brainstorm ideas and was struck by the idea of a clown and a couch. Wagner fondly remembered the large, comfortable couch that her family had kept at their house for years, and with increasing concern of the effects of TV on children, she liked the idea of a television show with an anti-couch potato message. There was one problem with the concept. At 37, Kucherka was too old for the child clown character that Wagner was developing, so she created a second clown character, a grandma clown, for Kucherka to play. The grandma clown would be named Granny Garbanzo, and she would appear alongside the star of Wagner's show, Lunette. Wagner pitched her idea to fellow Fraggle Rock puppeteers Karen Valou and Rob Mills. Mills had his own production company named Radical Sheep. Valou and Mills liked Wagner's concept, and Radical Sheep's Sheep Shop built a massive 6-foot by 12-foot couch to support the pitch. Mills, Valou, and Wagner refined the show for nearly 2 years. While still performing on Mr. Dressup, Wagner saw potential in a 16-year-old actress named Allison Court. Wagner had known Court for years, but it had just occurred to her that Court might be perfect for the star of her show, Lunette. The young Court already had dozens of credits to her name, including voice work on popular animated shows such as Ewoks, Care Bears, My Pet Monster, Madballs, Clifford, and as Veronica on The New Archies, Terry Cloth on Garbage Pail Kids, and Lydia on Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice!
Wagner asked Court to portray Lunette in a demo reel for her pitch, which was being referred to as the Big Comfy Couch. The demo convinced the McLean Hunter Television Fund to give Wagner and Radical Sheep funding, and the Canadian children's channel, YTV, agreed to distribute the show. With a budget of approximately 1.3 million Canadian dollars, or around 1 million American dollars, 13 episodes of The Big Comfy Couch would be filmed in Toronto during the summer of 1992. And nearly a year later, on Tuesday, March 2, 1993, The Big Comfy Couch would premiere to the joy of preschoolers throughout Canada.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to clown around? With Lunette and Molly, I'll climb her dolly on the big comfy couch.
Each episode began with Loonette the Clown sleeping on her big, green, flowery, buttoned couch. The large couch was tattered and featured a few frumpy pillows, a blanket, and an antimacassar. Loonette the Clown, played by Court, wore a purple hat and red jumper overalls with buttons on the bottom. Her shirt was patterned with the sun and the moon, and her tights featured thick black and white stripes. The childlike Loonette would speak directly to the audience, as well as to her couchmate, her doll Molly. Molly the doll did not speak, and she expressed herself through head nods, head shakes, arm movements, and picture balloons that could be interpreted by Loonette and the audience. Molly was performed by puppeteer Bob Stutt, a puppeteer that had worked on Fraggle Rock and Under the Umbrella Tree. The premiere episode, Upsy Downsy Day, opened with an injured Molly, who had fallen to the floor during the night. The show's primary setting was the big comfy couch, which created a strong connection between Loonette and her young viewers, as the audience was also likely watching from their couches. The big comfy couch's cracks and crevices had an endless supply of objects for Loonette to dig through. In Upsy Downsy Day, Loonette would find her old bottle while searching for a bandage for Molly. Molly would mock Loonette for acting like a baby, offending her. She took the opportunity to teach Molly that sometimes people need to be left alone.
Sometimes you need to be by yourself. By yourself.
Molly took Loonette's advice after she lost her red heart balloon. Loonette gave Molly some time to herself, heading off to do her clock stretch, a minute-long stretching segment that would appear in every episode of the show. The clock stretch would be just one of the show's many nonverbal segments. Rather than focus on language development like many preschool series at the time, the Big Comfy Couch was tailored to multilingual households, and the show demonstrated communication methods that did not require spoken language. The show was first and foremost about exploring emotions and humanity. Cheryl Wagner said, quote, "We don't do the letters of the alphabet through 26 episodes. Our show is about what it's like to be a human being on this planet. Feelings and development have been a very rich garden for us to harvest." Other characters on the show included the Foley family, a dollhouse family that lived in a small home next to Loonette's couch. The Foleys would consist of Jim and Eileen, and their son Andy. All three would be pantomimed by live actors in full character suits with red clown noses. The energetic Foleys would not speak, but they would make plenty of noise. Strange sounds emitted from objects around their house, often requiring the Foleys to determine how to stop the sound. Sometimes the solution was as simple as kicking the noisy item to fix it. The Foley family segments would end with the family dancing, indulging in their awful eating habits, or sometimes both at the same time. The show also featured a pair of sentient dust bunnies named Fuzzy and Wuzzy. Fuzzy and Wuzzy lived under Loonette's couch, and they expressed themselves through screeches, squeals, giggles, and simple phrases. The dust bunnies were often hyper, frantically playing with items that fell off the couch and onto the floor. Fuzzy and Wuzzy were puppeteered by Rob Mills and Bob Stutt. While Molly was aware of the woolly dust bunnies' existence, Loonette never saw them and was not sure that they existed. Dust bunnies in the Foley family would stagger appearances in the episodes of Season 1. Another segment with little language, Miss Loonette's Dance Academy, featured Loonette in a large pink tutu and rainbow suspenders, providing dance lessons to live animals or imaginary friends. In the premiere episode, Loonette would teach an unresponsive trio of bunnies named Eenie, Miney, and Mo how to do the bunny hopscotch.
Hop! Come on, guys, you can do it! Now turn! Keep your back straight! Wiggle!
In the episode Pinch to Grow an Inch, Loonette would find the bunny's missing companion, Meanie, and teach him how to do the bunny hopscotch as well. However, Meanie was also uninterested in learning the proper dance moves.
You can do it! To the left! Hop! 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 Keep your ears straight!
The first season's Dance Academy bunny segments would conclude in Ping Pong Polka, where Eenie, Miney, and Mo would resume their dance lesson, again with minimal enthusiasm.
Oh, you were so good! Did you see that, guys? Wasn't he good? Oh well. Maybe next time, guys.
Meanie would be noticeably absent from the group, and conspiracy-minded viewers believed that the characters of Eenie and Meanie, both smaller white bunnies with black ears, were actually performed by the same animal. Lunette also tried to teach Rover, a white tutu duck, to dance, with similar success.
Now waddle! You can do it!
The Dance Academy encouraged viewers to rise from the couch and be active, performing activities such as dancing with a streamer, pretending to play sports, playing the statue game, and dancing three-legged. Although the series was named The Big Comfy Couch, much of the show was intended to encourage activity in its young audience. Cheryl Wagner said, quote, "We thought about calling it Get Off the Couch, but it sounded too authoritarian." Another regularly visited location in Lunette's home was the bathroom. This simple set featured a sink, a toilet, and a bubble bath. Lunette played in the bathtub, taught Molly the proper way to brush her teeth,
How can you say your teeth?
and made funny faces in the mirror. The world of the show would be small, with almost 2/3 of every episode taking place inside of Lunette's home, near the couch. In every episode, Lunette would leave the Big Comfy Couch and venture outside to visit her clown friends, Major Bedhead and Granny Garbanzo. In early seasons, Lunette never went further than Granny's home, which was a circus wagon with a teeter-totter and a garden in the yard. Granny was an elderly clown with glasses and gray hair. She wore a red bandana, green sweater, apron, knit gloves, and rubber galoshes. Granny also carried a feather duster, which she would sometimes use on herself or other characters. Granny Garbanzo was played by Grindel Kucherka, with a heavy accent. She referred to Lunette as
Lunetka? Lunetka? Oi! Lunetka!
and made regular references to the old country.
Let me tell you a story about when I was a young girl. Back in the old days. Back in the old country.
Granny provided wisdom to Lunette, but she was also played with youthful energy.
I do a pretty mean hoochie coochie too.
Fred Stinson, who also performed the character of Andy Foley on the show, played the much larger clown, Major Bedhead, the unicycle riding delivery man of Clowntown. Major Bedhead delivered packages daily to Lunette and Granny. Although presumably on the job, Bedhead took the time to chat and play with Lunette and Granny, almost forgetting to deliver their packages. He wore a green striped unitard underneath a pair of hot pink bike shorts and an orange tank top. He had a large red clown afro that stuck out from the slots in his bike helmet. He also wore 2 fanny packs at the same time, one pink and one purple. Aside from unicycling, Bedhead had many traditional clown-related talents, including juggling, stilt walking, and pogo sticking. The majority of packages delivered by Major Bedhead were from Lunette's globe-trotting aunt, Auntie Macassar. The kind Auntie Macassar sent postcards and presents to Lunette that matched the episode's theme. In the second season episode Feast of Fools, Auntie Macassar surprised everyone by mailing herself. The character of Auntie Macassar was played by Tabora Johnson, and the name Auntie Macassar was a pun on the word Auntie Macassar. The character of Auntie Macassar was similar to that of Uncle Traveling Matt from Fraggle Rock. Other recurring segments of the show included the alphabet game, where Lunette appeared in front of a large toy block with a letter on it. She imitated the shape of the letter with her body and encouraged the audience to guess the letter of the day. Lunette also read storybooks in nearly every episode. She donned oversized glasses to read the stories to Molly and the audience. The stories were illustrated by Karen Valou and would feature morals relevant to the episode. In some stories, Lunette appeared as a character in the book images through the use of green screen. One of the most appreciated segments of the series, at least by parents, was the 10-second tidy. Another segment designed to get the preschool audience off the couch. The 10-second tidy modeled accountability by having Lunette clean up after herself. At the end of each episode, Lunette or Molly looked in front of the couch and realized that a giant mess had been made. She would then initiate the 10-second tidy and race to pick up all the items she played with earlier in the show. Likely losing the earned goodwill of parents, Lunette's tidying mostly consisted of her quickly jamming items under the couch cushions with the assistance of sped-up footage. The first season of The Big Comfy Couch was a huge success. Canadian children couldn't get enough of the show, and parents were happy to have a positive role model in Lunette. A second 13-episode season of the show was funded, and it would premiere in March of 1993. The second season added the character of Snickle Fritz, an orange tabby cat who lived with Granny. Like Molly, Snickle Fritz was nonverbal, speaking only in meows. Also like Molly, he was puppeteered by Bob Stutt. Another character added in Season 2, but in a much more limited capacity, was Mr. Wobbly, performed by actor Gary Farmer in 2 episodes.
Hey there, Mr. Wobbly. Is that you?
None other. Hello, Granny. How are you today?
In the episode Wobbly, the character was introduced as a wandering repairman. He repaired Granny's pot,
Well, One hole, maybe.
and Major Bedhead's unicycle, but had no luck with Lunette's wobbly duck toy.
But it's not fair.
Things aren't always fair.
Mr. Wobbly returned for the season 2 finale, Feast of Fools, as a guest at Granny Garbanzo's beat-based Thanksgiving-esque meal.
Well, don't that beat all?
I can't wait.
After that, he was never seen again. A less noticeable change in season 2 was Lunette's hair. Bob Blakely of the Calgary Herald would get the scoop that Allison Court had to cut off most of her hair after a friend set fire to it with a butane lighter. Bob reported, quote, "He got the flame close to her hair, and being dry, it flared up, forcing a mad dash to douse it. Luckily, she wasn't injured." Lunette would have fake hair for season 2's filming, but most viewers could not tell. The Big Comfy Couch continued to be a success, and seasons 3 and 4 were greenlit, premiering in 1994 and 1995 respectively. The show maintained a relatively small budget, with each episode costing around $100,000 to produce. The series continued to explore themes of social and emotional development. One ambitious episode of season 4 would attempt to answer the age-old question, where do clowns come from? In this episode, Lunette becomes concerned when she realizes she doesn't know where she is from.
I don't know where I come from.
Oh.
Oh!
Oh my, that's important.
Very important.
Granny Garbanzo explains to Lunette about how clowns come to be. Long ago, before last Thursday, a traveling circus would come to town to fill people's hearts with laughter. The laughter formed magical bubbles that made the world feel light and bouncy. After a successful circus show, all of the clowns then got together to have a secret circus, where they did their best tricks to make each other laugh. As the clowns laughed, magical laughing gas bubbled up until the circus tent floated to the sky. Then, when the clowns weren't paying attention, a baby clown floated down into the secret circus, and all of the clowns accepted the baby as one of their own. So there, that's where clowns come from. In 1995, the Big Comfy Couch's success in Canada caught the eye of United States broadcasters. Radical Sheep would strike a deal with the Public Broadcasting Service, and in January of 1995, the Big Comfy Couch would broadcast on PBS channels across the United States. The show proved to be a hit in the States as well, and merchandise of the Big Comfy Couch, including books, toys, games, and dolls, were manufactured. In March of 1995, the series was honored for excellence in Canadian television with a Gemini Award for Best Children's Program. Time Life used the program to launch its line of Time Life Kids videotapes, and in addition to sales, Time Life would send 20,000 VHS cassette tapes to daycare centers across the US. The show's success also led to discussions of an animated series based on the show, and even a Big Comfy Couch feature film. Despite this, the show would lose funding after its 5th season, which would premiere in 1996. This season would bring the total amount of episodes to 65. In one notable Season 5 episode, Don't Tell, Lunette discovered the Dust Bunnies for the first time. She found Fuzzy, or possibly Wuzzy, in a feathered boa that had fallen to the floor. Lunette assumed that the Dust Bunny was some kind of toy, and placed it in the Foley's dollhouse, causing the first Foley family Dust Bunny crossover. This was the last episode to feature an appearance by the Foley family, but Fuzzy and Wuzzy returned in the final episode of Season 5. This episode featured Lunette telling Molly of a dream she had where she shrunk down and met the Dust Bunnies beneath the couch.
And then I saw the monsters!
The show ceased taping in 1996, but the series continued to air on YTV's sister channel, Treehouse TV, and PBS stations throughout the US. The series had turned its lead, Allison Court, into a star. Court made dozens of public appearances as Lunette, prompting huge lines of fans at each location at which she appeared. She also appreciated the partial anonymity of her role, as it was difficult for children to recognize her out of costume. Prompted by the show's continued success in reruns, a live stage show based on the series was developed in 1998, and Allison Court would tour the US and Canada as Lunette. The show would run into 2000. While most everyone believed that the Big Comfy Couch would not produce another episode, its continued success with audiences would prevent this fate. Throughout the late 90s, the Nashville-based Tadpole Entertainment licensed the Big Comfy Couch for over $100 million in merchandise sales. Tadpole's president, John Cherry, still believed in the value of the brand, but without new episodes, many PBS stations had stopped airing the show. Cherry was told by programmers that if there were new episodes of the series, that they would be happy to put the Big Comfy Couch back on the air. In 2002, Tadpole became the distributor of the series, and Cherry ordered a 6th season of 13 episodes. in which Court, Wagner, and Radical Sheep would return. Cherry also revived talks for a feature film under the working title Get Comfy, although this would not come to fruition. In the fall of 2003, 7 years after the show's presumed final season, new episodes of The Big Comfy Couch aired. Season 6 featured a few significant changes. Clock Stretch, 10-Second Tidy, and the Dust Bunnies would return, but the Foley family, Miss Lunette's Dance Academy, the Alphabet Game, and Auntie Macassar would not. The couch was also remodeled to feature less tears and more flowers. Another, somewhat noticeable difference from other seasons was that Allison Court was 6 months pregnant during filming. Lunette's baggy clothes covered up the baby bump fairly well. Granny Garbanzo, Snickle Fritz, and Major Bedhead returned, and a new character named Uncle Chester was added.
Huh? Uncle Chester!
Oh, Bedhead, Lunette, Granny!
Uncle Chester served the traveler role that Auntie Macassar once filled, but Uncle Chester appeared at Granny's much more frequently. The character wore a kilt and a pith helmet with a weather vane on top. He was played by Edward Knuckles. The season also utilized more actors and puppets. During story time, Lunette would read longer stories that were no longer illustrated, but instead took place in a live-action clown town. Most cast members now played multiple roles in episodes, both their original characters and various extras in the Storytime Clowntown segments, like Alphonse.
You're probably gonna perm and poop my tail up like a squirrel. Ain't gonna catch me walking around all pretty like some girl, so get about my face before I wreck the place.
Season 6 was another success for the series, as a new generation of preschoolers and parents were introduced to Lunette and the gang. In 2003, the cast performed on a Big Comfy Couch-themed float in the Macy's Day Parade. In 2005, another live show was developed, named Wiggles and Giggles and Goofy Friends, which would tour the US, albeit without Allison Court as Lunette. After season 6, the series was just 22 episodes shy of the coveted 100-episode threshold needed for syndication. Nashville Public Television and Tadpole Entertainment believed that an additional, longer season of the show could be produced, if it was able to incorporate strategies to combat obesity. Cheryl Wagner and Radical Sheep got to work on producing a 22-episode 7th season. However, Court would not reprise her role, as she was focusing on raising her child. The team instead cast Canadian theater actor Ramona Gilmore-Darling as Lunette. Gilmore-Darling performed Lunette even more childlike than Court had.
Hi! You're here! We're ready to play! Right, Molly?
Many longtime fans would be disappointed by Court's absence, but much of the show's target preschool audience did not notice the change. New segments would be added to the show, including the Cabbage Club Cooking School, where Granny Garbanzo hosted a messy cooking school featuring recipes that should not be tried at home.
We stood it all together. Oh, pickle juice.
Major Bedhead encouraged movement through dancing and Clown Chi, as he instructed classes at the Clown Chi Dojo and dancing school.
Oh, that's good, Lunette. Nice and smooth, just like in practice. You got the rubs.
Now, I'll add the padding.
Another addition was Clowndergarten, a school where Lunette taught and played with a group of child clowns. The teacher of the class was also played by Grindel Kucherka. Every time Lunette left Granny's for Clowntown, she would sing a song.
Clown town, we are going to Clown town, Clown town, here we come!
The theme song was also refreshed for the new season, featuring the new Lunette and various parts of Clowntown.
Get ready to clown around.
Cheryl Wagner continued to be the primary creative force behind the show, and her daughter Harmony would also write episodes for the 7th season. As expected, Season 7 would be the final season of The Big Comfy Couch, airing in the summer of 2006. This brought the show to exactly 100 episodes. However, the show would be far from forgotten by its audience and its producers. All episodes of The Big Comfy Couch are available on streaming services, including some official releases on YouTube. And in 2015 and 2016, Radical Sheep would release a number of child-friendly apps, featuring characters and familiar segments from the show. In October of 2016, a trend of creepy clown sightings throughout the US prompted an unexpected reprisal of the Big Comfy Couch's main character, with Allison Court donning the Lunette costume once more for a sketch on the Canadian comedy series This Hour Has 22 Minutes. In the segment, Lunette defended clowns, claiming that they are not something to be afraid of. Court's reprisal of Lunette surprised the Big Comfy Couch fans that had been watching her play the character since 1992.
Everybody dies!
The Big Comfy Couch was a low-budget show with humble beginnings. but its big heart and talented cast and crew turned it into a children's television institution. It taught generations of children throughout the 90s and early 2000s how to explore their emotions and be active. More than anything, according to Wagner, The Big Comfy Couch taught families how to, quote, have fun. The lyrics of the theme song say it all. With a wiggle and a giggle and some goofy friends, clown around on the Big Comfy Couch.